Alright, I am back with a Halo Infinite video, and I am finally free to talk about like 95% of it now that the review embargo has lifted. I cannot get into a lot of the story stuff, but I will probably be doing that by the end of the week because I have a lot of stuff to say about that too. I posted my official review early this morning and found myself in the minority opinion here in a way that will hurt my credibility as an Xbox shill. I did not love the campaign quite as much as everybody else. I had a good time with it, but a lot of things about it kind of bothered me. I gave the campaign a 7.5 out of 10, which is like super terrible for a AAA video game, I guess. It's really weird because like this and the multiplayer are just pretty much entirely separate entities. Like they have different release dates. They have different, one's free to play, one is paid. Like they're pretty much two separate games. So like I would score multiplayer much higher, but it's a weird situation because it's all technically the same game. So I was hesitant to even give it a score at all because of that, but here we are. I thought I would use my video space today to answer a lot of questions I've been getting. I did sort of an AMA on Twitter earlier, and I don't know, it's like 100 questions at least. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some kind of common ones kept repeating, and so I'm going to kind of go through and read these. And I don't know really like the best format to do this, but I'm just going to try and like pull out some of the ones that jumped out at me, and you can see my kind of text answers. I'll try to be a little more elaborate here once I read these here. We'll start with just the most common question I get always, pretty much, when it comes to this sort of thing: how long it is. This is a little different because it's an open world, and open worlds have a wide range of how long things can be there. This depends on the difficulty you select. Like obviously, if you're running through this on Legendary, it's probably going to take you a lot longer than if you're running through it on Normal. I try to play all my games through on Normal first to get like the general player experience, and then all my progress is wiped from the review copy, so I'm going to go back and play through it again. But my playthrough, I would say if you just kind of go directly from point to point doing campaign missions, I would say it's probably like 8 to 10, 8 to 12 hours, depending on how good you are and how fast you're going. If you want to like fully explore the open world, like this isn't like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed where there's like a bazillion icons on the map and it's going to take you 200 hours to clear everything. There's not that many icons. So 100%ing it, I'd say 15, 18, 20, 22, 25 hours, somewhere in that range. Is my guess, just in terms of like clearing the icons. I'm not talking about like hunting down every skull because we don't even like know where all of those are yet. That's probably going to be a lot more hunting until all those guides go up. But that is my kind of estimate for how long it takes, and that was a pretty common question here. Okay, so I'm just going to start going through these, and I answered some of these, and some of them I have not yet answered because they keep coming in. So this question is from Lon. It says, are weapon variants stronger than the normal versions, or do they just look different? So from context for that, if you kill like VIP targets in the area, each of them has like a special weapon that's like a variant of, it's usually an enemy weapon, but not always. Sometimes it can be a Spartan weapon, and that can spawn at your base. And so you can kind of pick that up going forward after you kill them. I found it kind of difficult to understand what a lot of these did. Like it wasn't immediately clear sometimes. Like sometimes something will shoot like a double projectile or whatever. But the point is, yes, they are improved. There's no like listing saying exactly what the improvement is, but sometimes it is obvious. Like so I killed one guy and he had a rocket launcher, and his rocket launcher had tracking. That is very useful. So they are definitely better than the original versions, though how much better kind of depends on the weapon. I don't know, I'd say there's at least 10, 12 of those. I'm not sure if I even found them all yet. They've been talking about, this is from RG, they've been talking about Halo Infinite as a platform for years to come. How do you think they'll continue the story? DLC mission packs in different locations? That is my fundamental biggest question with this right now. I'll get into this more, but the game ends on a really steep kind of cliffhanger, and it's very clear that they are kind of, like the whole game to me feels like a prologue, in that like you're kind of waiting for this thing to happen, you're waiting to discover the thing, and then you get to the end and it kind of cuts it off. So, it's been 6 years since Halo 5, and I know that 343 has this like platform idea for Halo Infinite where they're going to produce more content more frequently. The problem is we don't really have any idea how that's going to look, and they have not really explained that at all. We know multiplayer has seasons. this first season is 6 months. Maybe their seasons are going to be 3 months, but we have no real idea what this is going to mean for PvE. If this is like Destiny, you'd be like, okay, maybe we'll get some seasonal story content every season, but there have been no indications for that. So are we getting seasonal DLC every year? Are we getting like a huge expansion every 2 years or something that would be the size of a sequel? I'm not sure. So that's something that I'm really wondering about too. Gameplay aside, is Halo getting back on track with storytelling? I know you're a writer, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the dialogue, story arc, and overall direction of the narrative? That's from My Name is Nerf. I did not like the story or the writing in this for the most part. I don't think it does any like ultra annoying things. Like people did not like the overall direction of the story from Halo 4 and 5, and I think they kind of try and fix some elements of that, and like it's not retconning, but like they do really kind of go out of the way to fix some of the complaints about it. That said, I really don't like what is there. For me, it revolves around the fact that you are Master Chief and stuck with two of the most annoying characters I think I can remember from the series. The pilot, who's this guy who like rescues Chief initially and carts him around, but like he is always complaining, always second guessing Master Chief, and is just very, very irritating. And then there's the Weapon, who is like your new AI person, and like she's like so sweet and naive. It's like irritating. Like it just, the dynamic with her and Chief is not remotely the same as with him and Cortana. And like later on she becomes like petulant because they get in a fight about things, and like it's just, it doesn't work for me, and I do not think the writing here is especially good. My favorite bits of the writing, like Chief has some good one-liners, but it's like the Banished and the grunts and stuff like yelling things at you. The Banished enemies, like the boss enemies are okay, they're actually pretty good, but there's no like massive storytelling misstep like, hey, you're not playing half the game as Master Chief, you're this other dude who we've never heard of before. Like there's not really something that jumps out that much, but I did not love the overall story here, even though it is probably better kind of for the whole narrative of Halo than 4 and 5 were. I got a lot of questions about like, is this better than the last game? I think it's 343's best campaign, but I haven't really loved the last two 343 campaigns, so that's not saying a whole lot. My favorite campaign is still Reach, and then Halo 3. I mean, the original trilogy is still probably better than this. I don't know, like really early Halo, it's barely had a plot for the most part in the very, very early days. But so I'm kind of in the middle in terms of where this falls for me, and I think the ending does it a disservice, but I can't fully go into that yet. Someone says, Crouch Jump says, is it more than Just Cause Halo Edition? Because it looks like Just Cause Halo Edition. Yeah, I compared it to Just Cause a lot because, at least in terms of like how you invade enemy bases, that's how it feels. Like there's no stealth option. So you're Master Chief, you just go in there, guns blazing, throwing grenades, blowing stuff up. That is fun. That really worked for me. I really enjoyed that a lot. That said, it is not just like Just Cause, because there is still a ton of like pretty traditional like linear Halo levels buried in this, where you will constantly be going into a facility, you're going underground or something, and then there's like a pretty linear mission there. So if you're a fan of that style, like it's not just like everything is the open world now. There are some segments where it's like, okay, you got to deactivate blow up these 3 anti-aircraft guns in this area, and like you can choose whatever order you want to blow them up in, and it doesn't really matter. So there's only maybe I think 2 segments like that where it's like do something in the open world to move the story along, and most of the campaign is still pretty traditional. Let's see what else. Previous Halo games had data pads. This is from Raf. Data pads, terminals you could find in missions which contain lore. Is there anything similar to that in Infinite's campaign? Yes, there are a lot of audio files, both from the Marine Corps and from the Banished. A whole bunch of those, and they're all fully voiced. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Do you still run out of ammo after like 2 rifle clips? I hate having to switch to alien guns. Yeah, you do run out of ammo a good amount. There are a lot of, so there was like a bunch of ammo crates there's like a bunch of types of ammo. There's like shock ammo, plasma ammo, heavy ammo, hard light ammo, and then kinetic ammo. So like you have to find the right type of crate, but it does open more of an opportunity to stick with guns more often. That said, like the fob gives you all these guns, but like you'll probably take them into an open world segment and then be swapping them away pretty quickly unless you can definitely find ammo, because Halo's kind of all about using whatever you can find. And then in the linear campaign missions, like you definitely have to just kind of use what the arena gives you. And you can't really like carry over fob weapons for too long unless you just like carefully manage your ammo. Let's see. How replayable would you say it is? So this will tie into a question about co-op too, where I'm going to replay it because I lost all my progress and I kind of stopped short of 100%ing the map because I knew progress was going to be wiped. So I'm going to replay it. I'm going to probably replay it on harder difficulty and see if I can extract more out of it than other people did. But I think it would be replayable like when co-op hits for sure. I think the game is really hurt by having no co-op here because it is very easy to see how fun it would be to kind of, pile into a warthog with your friends on Legendary and like go, mess up a banished base. And like that seems like it would be really fun. And it's going to be a big bummer that no one can do co-op for this because like if there's any Halo campaign that seems like you would have a lot of fun in co-op, it's probably this one with the open world. So that is a big negative, and it's not even going to be here for at least 6+ months. Flood Prometheans. No. So there's no flood. They talk about the flood sometimes. Prometheans, like you're not. Okay, there's like Promethean presence. I'm not gonna explain that, but like you're not fighting like legions of Prometheans like you are in past games. It is pretty much just jackals, grunts, brutes, elites, guardian, whatever they're called. It's pretty basic in terms of the actual enemy types. There's some new types of enemies, like there's brutes and jackals that like are like melee focused and they just kind of like run at you and punch you. Brute snipers, are those new? There's a couple new enemy types. Brutes with jetpacks. I can't remember what exactly is new and what's already happened, but it is mostly just the banished forces, and you are not fighting a lot of different enemy races. Something you wish you'd known before you started. Oh yeah, I gotta write that for launch day probably. Level up the grappling hook to max as soon as possible. This will tie into some other questions asked about the grappling hook and equipment. So the way this works, there are no charges. There's no ammo. Everything is just on cooldown. So this is all stuff we've seen in the multiplayer already. It's the same gadgets. There's like the enemy radar detector thing. There's dashing. There's the grappling hook. There's the barrier shield. And each of these have like 5 tiers of upgrades. So like one of the first upgrades for the grappling hook is like lower the cooldown time to like 3 seconds. So you can just spam the grappling hook all the time. I used it for traversal like 100% of the time almost because it's a lot easier to just grappling hook around than like getting the warthog and not hit a bunch of rocks and trees and stuff. And the grappling hook is ridiculously useful in combat. I said max out the grappling hook first because the final upgrade is like this crazy AoE slam where like you stun an enemy as you latch them, you hold the melee button and it zooms out to third person, and then you slam down with like a Superman punch and it does like an AoE explosion of damage, which is one of the best moves in the game, honestly. So I would max that first. Someone asked if they should play the Halo campaign or Bungie Anniversary DLC first. Like, I can't say that like the Bungie Anniversary DLC, like the dungeon, the activity, are going to be more substantive than an entire Halo Infinite campaign. Like, even if I am on the more negative side of things, like I recognize that a lot of people really enjoyed this, and I did enjoy a lot of my time with it. So, that's up to you. I'm going to start with the anniversary stuff, obviously, and probably play that for a while and then get back to Halo. But if you wanted to wait on the anniversary stuff to play Halo, I would not blame you for that either. Let's see. Is the game a visual treat? I had an interesting conversation with a couple people about this, where they said that like the visuals like being not amazing kind of stood out to them. Whereas, like, it didn't really bother me one way or the other. Like, that wasn't really one of my negatives. I think it certainly looks a lot better than, the initial terrible thing they showed a year ago. It's kind of fundamentally a problem with the architecture where, the map has all these giant Forerunner, like, column things that, like, rise up everywhere. And it looks really weird and, like, kind of unfinished when you're on, like, a vista looking out. It just looks very strange. It doesn't look like a normal landscape. So that's kind of a weird element of it, but like on the ground, I thought things like trees and rocks and the weapons and the enemies like that, those were all skinned very nicely. And I did not have any visual issues with those. So that I do not think it wasn't really a pro or a con for me. And I think it looked perfectly fine. How do you go about switching equipment? I've only ever seen the grapple equip from Michael Welter. So that's like, it's all done on the D-pad. So like your equipment, I forget which direction it is. It's left or right. So you hit right to like bring up the equipment menu, and then you hit like up, down, left, or right to go to one of the equipment options. So like eventually you'd kind of develop muscle memory, be like, okay, grappling hook is double right, shield is right up, and then so you can kind of switch on the fly. Even by the end, I was still like having a little bit of trouble with it, but it's good to be able to swap to stuff like that on the fly because like you will be using the grappling hook probably 90% of the time, I would say, just because you feel really like lacking without it. But you can like easily switch to, you can throw down a shield and then you don't have to like leave the shield thing on. You can just switch back to the dash or the grappling hook or whatever. So, what else? How much of the Halo story do you have to know before playing? I've missed a couple of games. All right, if you missed a couple of games, pretty much all you need to know is that Cortana is bad now. Like, she went bad, and they kind of explain what she did when she was banned during the course of this game. So I would not like go back and play Halo 4 and 5 before this. I don't think they're very good campaigns in the first place, so I probably wouldn't waste your time. Let's see. These are all kind of repeating now. Does it ditch most Halo 5 story threads or continue? I kind of talked about that already, but I do think they are trying to fix a lot of the story mistakes they made with Halo 5. But it's not like they ignore it completely and be like, surprise, like everything is back the way you want it again. Like they definitely, acknowledge all that stuff happened. I just think they're making maybe different decisions going forward here. You'll see what that means. What weapon was the most fun to mess with? Once I got the tracking rocket launcher, that just became like stupidly good, where I would hunt down VIP targets and just fire a bunch of tracking rockets at them and they would die. There was a Mauler that had a variant that was really good. I don't remember what the perk was, but it was like double shot or something. But you use the Mauler a lot because brutes, like a ton of brutes and jackals have Maulers. So that kind of grew on me by the end. I had fun with pretty much all the weapons. Like they all have their own purposes and are very good. It's very fun to, just like it is multiplayer, it is very fun to combine a grappling hook with either a sword or a gravity hammer. That is very fun. Probably the most underrated weapon, explosive barrels. Explosive barrels in most video games are the things you shoot and they blow up. You can still do that here, but with the grappling hook, you find one from far away, you grab it, and you throw it. There's different types. So like one will create like an AoE flame effect on the ground for constant damage. One shoots out like little particles that seek out enemies, and then one's just like explosive. Those are very good. It's high risk though, because if you are shot while carrying one, you will just blow up and die. So that's the problem. Oh yeah, okay. So someone's asking about PvP armor unlocks, and this is where I get in trouble with the Halo subreddit. Okay, so someone said there was a data mine or something that said there was no armor as unlocks in the campaign, and Gene Park and I chimed in and be like, no, like that's not true, and I said I could debunk that because there are armor caches scattered around the map, and it's like, okay, you're getting multiplayer armor. The problem is, so like our build doesn't have access to multiplayer, so I can open a chest and unlock something, but I can't go to multiplayer. Like, I can't go to the multiplayer page to see what it was. So I started, I would open the thing, and it's like, oh, Mark 7, whatever. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm assembling an armor set. But when I really kind of narrowed down and looked at what I was getting, everything I was getting was either, like, a coating or a trinket or, like, an emblem or something. Like, there were no actual armor pieces. So I thought I was, like, assembling an armor set, but by the end, I did not end up with any actual armor. It's cosmetics, but it's not armor. I feel like I can't fully rule out the idea that like maybe there is an armor core or something hidden in here. Like maybe if you beat it on Legendary, there's an armor core. I'm guessing some reviewers did. I probably would have heard about that if that was true, but like maybe it's hidden somewhere. Maybe you have to find every cache or something. But from my experience, no, there was no easily identifiable armor set there. So I thought I could quote debunk that, but I guess I can't because it was confusing and I thought I was getting stuff I wasn't actually getting, and there was no way to actually check what had been unlocked, so I had to go back and open some more caches to see what happened. So yeah, that was a little confusing. How many drifter dings out of 5 do you give it? I'm not 4 dings, 3 dings? I'm not sure. Yeah, everyone's kind of repeating now, so I might start wrapping this up, given that we're almost at 20 minutes. But people are asking about co-op. I definitely think a lack of co-op is a big problem. And then people are asking how long are you going to wait for new content, and asking about the cliffhanger. Oh, someone asked about is the environmental diversity or lack thereof as bad as it seems? Yes. So that is one aspect of the game that I did not like. The Zeta Halo ring is pretty much the same all the way through. It's the pillars, the Forerunner pillars with greenery. Like you'll get to some area where like here's a bunch of crashed pelicans or something, and so like that area looks a little different, but there are not really any true biomes here. There's no like super snow biome. Like if you get to maybe some of the taller mountains, there might be a little bit, but like there are no really distinct biomes here. And then in the interiors, all the interiors kind of blend together because you are kind of entering a lot of the same facilities over and over again. So those kind of blend together as well. One thing that really bothered me is I was disappointed to learn that like you can see the whole map the whole time. It's not like blacked out. And so there's this giant chunk of the map, at the one part. And you progress through the game, you unlock different parts, and then you get to the end, and the final third of the map is not a real place. It's like there's like a little channel that you're kind of like teleported there for a couple story missions, like the final story missions, and those will take place kind of like indoors more or less. But you cannot explore that whole region. And I got a wasp and I tried to fly over there, and I got an out of bounds thing that killed me. You literally can't go over there. So I was disappointed to see that there was an entire portion of the map that I thought was going to be explorable, and maybe that was a new biome, and it wasn't. It is just kind of a zone for a couple of the final campaign missions. My guess is that they are going to add more biomes in future content, but again, we don't know when that is coming, what form that will take, what size that will be, anything like that. So that's a little up in the air right now. And then I guess just the final question, like, was it fun? It's fun. I had fun with it. I really think I like all the equipment that you get to use, the grappling hook combined with Master Chief's old abilities. The weapons are fun. The enemy AI is pretty good. The enemies are funny. I liked taking out the bases and VIPs. So I did enjoy that element of it. But a lot of other things kind of crept into my brain where like I didn't like the campaign as much as other Halo campaigns. And then I didn't like the open world as much as a lot of other open worlds for a couple of reasons. So I did enjoy it. Like I did not technically a 7.5 is not a fully negative review. Like in it in context of the gaming sphere, it is viewed that way. But I did enjoy my time with it. I enjoyed it enough to go. I'm gonna go play the whole thing again. Like if I hated it, I would not be doing that. So there is a lot of stuff I like about it, and I am excited to see how kind of this platform evolves for their 10-year vision of what Halo is going to be. It's just that we don't really have any idea of what that is, and the ending we get here seems too abrupt and like too unfinished for me. And I'll talk about all that maybe at the end of the week here once people have had the chance to beat it or play it in general. So anyway, those are kind of a lot of the most common questions I got. If you have any more, feel free to ask them in the comments I didn't cover here. I will try to get to them when I can, but I don't know, that was a good amount of stuff covered, so we'll see. But anyway, I am going to prepare my vault for the Destiny anniversary event tomorrow, so I will probably be of an anniversary video later tomorrow. I'll probably have a dungeon video the next day, and then I'll probably circle back around to Halo by the end of the week here once more people have been able to play it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.